Hello and welcome to everybody. It's the month of September and it's Pulmonary Fibrosis Awareness Month, and this is our second video chat of the month. I'm delighted today to be joined by Mike Olsen, who has pulmonary fibrosis, is on the wait list for a lung transplant, and has done some incredible work in trying to raise awareness of pulmonary fibrosis. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So maybe just to start with, tell us about your journey and your early diagnosis.
Sure. In December of 2014, I was diagnosed with IPF. Prior to that, I was having issues. I had pneumonia back in 2012 during an ice storm here in Kentucky, and didn't think much of it. I thought I got over the pneumonia, but obviously over those 2 years, I was having some issues until it really got bad in and around December. Went to my allergist, and he said, there's something definitely wrong. I'm sending you to a pulmonologist. Went to the pulmonologist, and first they thought it was interstitial lung disease, so they watched it for a little while, but come December, I was having shortness of breath and a lot of difficulties. So anyway, they said, we really need to get in there and do an open lung biopsy. So that's what they did, and they determined right after the diagnosis of from the biopsy that I did have idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. So it was a shocker. First of all, because they told me at first I only had 2 years to live. But they said it was, pretty invasive, and so get my affairs in order, and so that was my first initial understanding of IPF. It was kind of a shock.
And unfortunately, that seems to be a common story that a lot of people have had when they were diagnosed. You go home, prepare to die, get your affairs in order.
Right.
Hopefully, that's not the message that's given out anymore. But what was that like to deal with, or kind of how did you evolve in terms of your thinking and your state of mind from there?
Well, from that diagnosis, after I got that diagnosis and the grim details of it all, and the details of what IPF was, I had to make a decision early on. What was I going to do with that information, and what was I going to do with my life and the time I had left? So I determined from the very early beginnings that either I'd be better or I'd be bitter about the situation, and I chose the latter part, to be better, and just decided that I was going to try to make a difference in my community, first of all, and in the state where I live, in Kentucky, to educate people about IPF. And I don't know why, I just decided really early on that this was a disease that people didn't understand or know about, and that I was going to start a grassroots awareness campaign from the very start. And so I started the Mike Olsen Project. And how that started was, I had a friend, I knew these people that I had done some work with in interior decorating, and I had stopped by their place because I remembered seeing them. And anyway, I walked in and I said, I know you're a video company, and I asked them if they would help me out to get the message out about IPF, and they agreed to it. And they did a documentary called the Mike Olsen Project. So that's how it all started, to bring awareness in my own community, was through this documentary. So
and I believe that turned out to be an Emmy award-winning documentary as well.
Well, actually, there was a second one. The news people picked up on it. So what I decided to do is, in my own city of Louisville, Kentucky, I decided who would be most influential to meet to talk about this disease. And I thought the mayor of the city. We started with the mayor. And so I met with the mayor, and he signed a proclamation making Louisville, the city, awareness for pulmonary fibrosis in September. I think it was of 2016 at that point. And then I met with a congressman who invited me to speak before Congress when I'm well enough about this issue. So I thought, wow, I'm getting some momentum here. But at the same time, the Emmy Award that you mentioned, I started I did another documentary. I didn't. A man named Gilbert Corsi did of WDRB News. He said, I met him. They were building a new bridge over the Ohio River. And I took advantage of any kind of public event that I heard of. I would go there and show my face to show a face of IPF. So when I was there, this newscaster was there. And I said, hey, I'm dying. Will you help? And he said, what? And so that became a second documentary called I'm Dying, Will You Help? And that's the one that won the Emmy Award, which, to my surprise, when they called me, well, they called the winner, which was Gilbert. But Gilbert said, hey, Mike, this is your Emmy. This is your story. You come up here and speak to the Emmy crowd. So in my life, I would never have imagined winning an Emmy for a story of my life about dying of IPF. But there you go. The funny part was I was an actor in New York in musical theater. So I gave up acting in my young 20s and went into the ministry. So 30 years later, my story wins an Emmy Award. So I always tell people, don't give up when you're given a diagnosis of IPF. You know, God can do anything in your life. And here I have an Emmy Award sitting in my house. So, but anyway, that's what I did. I went out into the public, met with the mayor, met with my congressman, and then I just started thinking, who else can I meet with? And so I met with Senator Rand Paul and Senator Mitch McConnell from Kentucky representatives. And from there, I just kept on going. And eventually, I met with the president and the vice president of the United States in the West Wing in the Oval Office. Me, just a guy from Kentucky telling my story about IPF. So, but I believe it's made a big difference because right after my meeting with the president, they did pass that law about immediate access to medication that is needful for people who are dying. So I like to think that hopefully I made a little difference in that decision-making process.
Yeah, and lobbying is so important. And in particular, I know all the different patient groups are coming together to help with lobbying related to access to oxygen, because that's an area that continues to be very difficult.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's all we can do while we're waiting, whether we're waiting on a transplant or just, unfortunately, just waiting our time out with IPF, is try to make a difference in your neighborhood, in your community. I even gotten the idea that I should start meeting with celebrities because, as you know, somehow in this world, people love to, talk about celebrities and movie stars. And so I got this idea that I'm going to start, reaching out to those type of people. And actually, I think my first one was a musician, a Grammy award-winning musician named Toby Mac. And he came to our town and he did a shout out for me on Go Live and on Facebook about IPF. And I thought that was great. And I thought, that's a really great idea. So then Joe Nichols was here in town. His dad died of IPF. He is a country music musician. And he invited me to his concert and we got to talk about IPF. And so I just kept thinking, I'm just going to keep meeting these celebrities and tell my story, one celebrity at a time. So my latest one was
You'll have to do a duet with one of these singers and maybe you'll win a Grammy next.
That's right. Well, the funny thing was Dennis Quaid, I didn't know he was a singer, but he has a band called Dennis Quaid and the Sharks. And he was coming to a Derby event. Kentucky Derby is really big here, obviously. And so I heard he was coming. And so I thought, I did some background information about him. And I noticed that he once was watching Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando make a movie. And I happened to know that Marlon Brando had IPF. So I said, I'm going to contact Dennis Quaid. So I told him my story, told him to watch my videos, told him about Marlon Brando having IPF. And little did I know is I got invited by Dennis Quaid to come see him when he was in concert here about a month ago. And I thought we were just going to do a little IPF chat. But it wound up being his musician called me from California and said, hey, Mike, why don't you come up on stage and sing a song with Dennis Quaid? I said, what song will we be singing? He said, a whole lot of shaking going on. So the funny part was, you know, when you get a diagnosis of IPF, there's a whole lot of shaking going on. So I thought it was a great song to sing.
You certainly have been doing a lot of moving and a lot of shaking.
You got to.
So you're also hoping to get a lung transplant. Tell us about that process and where you are.
Okay, so I was listed probably like 2.5 years ago. Now, granted, I was probably listed a little early because of my saturation level and some other things. But and regardless of that, I got a call for transplant 2 years ago. But about 10 minutes before I got wheeled into surgery, the doctors came running and said, "Stop, we found a mass on the donor's lung." So here I am, still waiting. I've been back on the list, so it's been about 2.5 years. I tell my doctors, we're calling it a little close here, aren't we? Because my disease is progressing. I'm now retaining CO2. I'm on a BiPAP machine. But unfortunately, I know within myself, and of course, my pulmonologist, I just had an appointment with him recently, and he asked the transplant center, "What's going on with Mike? Why is this taking so long?" But unfortunately, that's just the whole thing with transplantation. It's a waiting game.
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't enough donor lungs, and you know, I know there is new technologies to help kind of improve the pool of donor lungs, but it's still a scarcity.
Yeah, it is. Now with the Mike Olsen Project, the grassroots awareness campaign that I started, I've seen such a great, just a lot of open doors for me to meet with politicians and celebrities, and my videos have gone all over the world. I think it's in Austria that they're using the Mike Olsen Project video as part of their awareness. So it's great to see these videos going around the world and being used even by patients, just using my videos to show their families. So I started to notice that perhaps I should be doing more than the Mike Olsen Project awareness campaign. So I'm in the process of turning it into a foundation so that I can help others, other patients. I know there's a lot of wonderful foundations out there, and why one more, but I just feel the things that I can do will probably be a little different than what other foundations can do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm starting the Mike Olsen Project Foundation. So that'll be coming soon. And hopefully my heart is for a lot of people in Kentucky, because not only with IPF, but with the air quality in Kentucky being so terrible, especially in my own city, there's also a problem with black lung again among the coal miners. So, you know, my emphasis and my focus, I think, is going to be more in the Kentucky area and in lung disease.
And I know, just on that point, you're involved with clean air and clean water lobbying, and with the local state body on that as well.
Right. I'm a part of a group called the Center for Healthy Air, Water, and Soil, and I'm a health ambassador here in the city of Louisville. It's kind of amazing, I mean, to myself, that they had asked me. I was the first health ambassador, and they kind of, after they met me, they said, "We got to do something here." And so we're able to kind of look around with the companies and what people are doing, the airport that is right close to me, in the areas of air quality. And so there's several projects that we're doing here. One is called the Green Heart Project. So those kind of things help myself, but also other people with lung diseases, to know that someone's out there, you know, looking after them in the air quality.
That's something that we're very passionate about as well. So we're collecting a lot of air quality data through the Patient Empower app, and we're collaborating with researchers to try and link the air quality with health outcomes. So there's a lot of pulmonologists doing some interesting research in this area. So we're going to be contributing the data from patients like you to help with that research.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's really important. Different areas of the country are worse. Unfortunately, I live probably in the worst air quality in the country. It's actually noted that Louisville, Kentucky is one of the worst air quality states. And because we live in a basin, we call it the Ohio Valley. And so jokingly call it the Ohio Valley crud, because everyone who moves here into the city, in fact, I just had a singer message me last night who just moved to Louisville recently, and she's been having bronchitis, pneumonia, allergy symptoms. And she says, I never had them until I moved here. And I had to tell her, unfortunately, this is the worst place in the nation to live. Why I'm living here, I don't know. No, actually, I love Louisville, but it's very bad air quality. So.
Well, it sounds like you're doing the right moving and shaking to try and get awareness of this and to try and improve the air quality in Kentucky. So keep it up.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. The governor of Kentucky made my wife and I Kentucky colonels. It's kind of an honor here. And so I'm trying to be doing my best as a Kentucky colonel as well, doing these kind of things to make sure the public is safe.
Well, I've never spoken to an Emmy Award winner before, and definitely not someone who's been mixing in the circles that you have, but all in the name of raising awareness for pulmonary fibrosis. So keep it up, Mike. Fingers crossed for the lung transplant, and hopefully.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the work. I appreciate the work that you all are doing as well. I love using my spirometer and seeing where my levels are. When that was given to me, I was like, this is a great tool. So you guys have really made a difference as well in our community, and we really appreciate Patient Empower.
Really appreciate that, Mike. And thank you for everything that you're doing.
All right, thank you.
Take care, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.